Hello, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. It is your Manchester United Transfer Daily live a little bit later because it's a bank holiday Monday in the UK, back at 7 o'clock tomorrow. But Ivan Perisic is probably the reason many of you are tuning in today. I've got to say, first of all, I've never seen a transfer deal like this. Chelsea coming into it yesterday and Chelsea and Manchester United fans arguing on Twitter about who should sign him because they don't want him. Each their own, it's all about opinion, but I think that there's going to be a lot of people with egg on their face come September when Perisic is a decent player and they all go, I always wanted him. But it's not true. A lot of you don't want him. And I think, if I was a betting man, I'd back Mourinho and what I know about him. And I think he will be a good signing. I just don't think people are happy about it because it's not the big Galactico. But look at what Manchester United did last year. Eric Bailly was our first signing in mid-June, who nobody knew anything about. The big boys didn't come till July, and late July, wasn't it, with Pogba? So I'd just relax about that lot. And in relation to Pep Guardiola, look, he's a checkbook manager. Look at the agenda against Manchester United already in evidence. He's had a rubbish season where he spent more than any other club. He's now spending 45 million on a goalkeeper no one knows about. He's going to go way over 200 million pounds this summer. The Bernardo Silva deal is being quoted widely in the press as 43 million when it's not. With add-ons, it's nearly touching 70 million. Remember when we signed Martial, the deal was 36 million, but with add-ons it was 55. All the press reported 55 million because it's United. Agenda. But I'm not worried about what Pep Guardiola does. Because if he's one of the best managers in the world, why is he spending so much money? Why is he desperately trying to justify his talent by just spending more than anybody else? He's just the new Blackburn Rovers of the 90s, where they're just going to spend as much as they can to try and win the title. When the fact is, Mourinho is streets ahead of Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola couldn't win the Europa League with Fellaini. Mourinho just has. So sit down, let them carry on. We'll do our business. Perisic, though, well, something I want you to start thinking about a little bit before we move on to Perisic. If Manchester United summer consisted of what, this is rumoured, it's not fact, 4 signings, which were Michael Keane, Perisic, Matuidi from PSG and Griezmann, what would your thoughts be? Because I've heard people saying, I'd be disgusted, we'll finish 6th again with those 4 signings. I've got a theory on those 4. Michael Keane, Perisic, Matuidi, Griezmann. I do actually think we'll sign a number 9 as well, but what if we just sign that 4? But in relation to Perisic, look, stick with the United Stand when it comes to transfers. You're all fantasists, you're not. You're all fantastic anyway when it comes to the transfer news. I keep saying it, this is the 3rd summer in a row we've done it, and the knowledge you get off the live comments and the comments below is amazing. You're really passionate about it like us, and that's reflected in the shows we'll do for you every day in the summer. But we don't just jump, we'll report everything on the Football Daily, on the Transfer Daily, but if there will be other shows throughout the year and throughout the summer that really do sort of give an indication about where we think things are going. In fact, in my mentioned videos, there is a video from the international break at the end of March where it says Ivan Perisic to Manchester United moves closer. This was 2 months ago. This deal for Perisic was, in my mind, well over 80% going to happen at the end of March. You've just got to read between the lines. Mourinho flew over to a Croatia game. I think Croatia were playing Ukraine or something like that. Perisic didn't actually play in the game, so people were like, oh, are we looking at the midfield, Brozovic, or are we looking at Handanovic or the goalkeeper? And I reported it and I said, look, I think we're looking at Perisic. That's what the good rumours were saying, and also that's where Perisic's agent was. So this deal's been coming for a while. The fact that Perisic yesterday basically said his goodbye to Inter Milan, that's well known. So the first hurdle is jumped back in March, and again yesterday he's leaving Inter Milan. So where's he going to go? Everything is suggesting that he wants to come to Manchester United. Chelsea have obviously joined the party. My slight concern would be, and it is a concern because I do want Perisic, my slight concern is Chelsea are very, very good at transfers. They've always been better than us, the way they get their deals done. But I think a lot of that was to do with what Mourinho brought in both his times at Chelsea. But they've definitely developed and nurtured that legacy. So they could be a threat. But I think Mourinho wants Perisic, and I think it is, like I say, it's been going on for a couple of months, and this deal is pretty much tied down that it will happen. What do you get for Perisic? He's probably going to cost around £40 million. Look, again, it frustrates me that the press will say, well, you get Bernardo Silva, one of the best players in Europe, for 43, and Manchester United are paying 40 for Perisic. They're not paying 43. They're not paying 43. Unless he flops, which would be funny, if he does okay, that goes up to nearly 70 million. So forget that comparison straight away. I don't want to read or hear about that. What we're getting for Perisic is a position that we actually need. It's not like Bernardo Silva or James Rodriguez, who would have been very welcome at Manchester United, but are not necessarily players we need, because we've got Mata, Mkhitaryan, Pereira coming back. I'm not saying they're better than Silva, but that we need a winger who is quick, skillful, and is actually a specialist winger. And that's what you get with Perisic on that left-hand side. He's quick, he's skillful, he's creative, he's got a great shot on him, and he's very experienced, and ultimately he's very, very hard-working. And Mourinho is going to go for that sort of player. And at 28, he's only just 28, Manchester United have a real dearth of experience in that sort of 25 to early 30s age group. You've got a few, like your Matas and Herrera's moving into that area, but Perisic, essential for what we need. We've got a lot of young players, and next season, if we're going to mount a title challenge, then somebody like this is essential. Now, whether he'll be first team or not, I'm not saying that he definitely will be, but I think he actually will establish himself as a first team player if he comes, and I would put him in the mould of somebody like a Valencia or a Herrera. Not the Galactico signing of the summer or the Bailly, but the player who comes in, just gets his head down and works. And his work ethic is absolutely fantastic. So I'm very, very happy about that. I think it's a good deal for us. And there's a good comment here from Rian. He says, I'd take Michael Keane over Lindelof, but would have Varane over both. But I don't think we'd get Varane, whereas Keane seems likely. Look, Michael Keane's probably going to sign for Manchester United, and I'm initially not happy about it. I think we can do a lot better. But he is young. He is English. He knows the Manchester United way. And when I look at what Mourinho did with Rojo and Jones to a certain extent this summer, then I'm very happy that Michael Keane has actually got an upward curve in his career. He's still young enough to go over the next 2 seasons even better. So I will back the deal. If he signs Lukaku, I don't necessarily think Lukaku's the right deal for us, but I will back that deal. I will back that deal. I'm just sorting my lighting out there. So I'm going to back everything, to be honest. Griezmann, Matuidi, Keane, Perisic. If that's the 4 signings of the summer, you won't get me melting down about it. I think we do need number 9, which I'll come on to in a moment. But those 4 signings would actually solve a lot of the issues that we have. Griezmann, the number 10, replacement for Rooney. Matuidi, the centre defensive midfielder that we need. Not necessarily to replace Herrera, but to give us some depth in that position, because we haven't got any. Perisic obviously gives us the natural width. And then Michael Keane is a centre-back that we need. Obviously, if it was my 4, I would probably go a little more high-end than that, especially in relation to the centre-back. But look, you've got to trust Mourinho. And what I will keep banging home this summer to you all is, Manchester United can do anything they want. Do you think Mourinho, who doesn't actually like Pep Guardiola, they've got a professional relationship where it's amicable, whatever, but they don't like each other. They want to beat each other. And Mourinho will not be sat there this summer going, oh, look, there's another 50 million spent by Pep. He's buying another top-class player. Oh, I'm just going to go on budget buy and get Will Keane. That's not going to happen to Mourinho. I still think Mourinho could beat him with a team of not superstars, but Mourinho's not going to. It's his second season. Mourinho is very big on his own achievements, winning a trophy in the first season, etc., winning the title in the second season. That will be his focus, and I have total confidence in whatever he does. In his mind, he won't be taking shortcuts. This will be about what he wants to achieve next summer with Manchester United, and I think that's winning the league. I really do. I also want to talk about, a lot of people ask, what do you think Manchester United's transfer deals will definitely be this summer? A lot of people ask this question. David De Gea will go. I'm very sad about that, but David De Gea will go. CJ Party Times, any Griezmann update? I'm still convinced Antoine Griezmann will come to Manchester United. I don't care what Atletico Madrid president says, because you pay the buyout clause and it's up to Griezmann. And if Griezmann doesn't come to Manchester United this summer, as much as I love him and I want him to come to United, and I have for 2 years, he will be classed a bottler by me, because he will never get an opportunity to come and play for Manchester United as good as this one. It's nothing to do with Atletico Madrid. If he bottles it to stay at Atletico Madrid, a club that's never going to win the Champions League, then that's down to him. But I'm convinced that he will definitely come. So De Gea and Griezmann I expect to happen. And one I want to throw out there, it's not necessarily... it isn't really coming from... Well, it is coming from me, because so many people have told it. And I'm getting it from so many different people now. Bale to Manchester United. I'm just going to say Bale to Manchester United. Do not be surprised if that happens. If I had £1 for every little source that's told me about that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'd have about £12. Because I have been told from numerous people that Bale to Manchester United, the one trend I would get, and it's from all different people, and as far as I know, they don't know each other, is it's the same message. Bale has told his agent to sort of look for a deal in the UK, and Bale is more open to a move to Manchester United than many think, and obviously Real Madrid are becoming a bit tired of it's the toy, isn't it? Bale is a toy that's been fantastic, but now they want a new toy. So Bale to Manchester United, just keep that in the back of your head. That's my sort of shock signing that I think could happen. But yeah, certainly Rooney will go, De Gea will go, Griezmann will sign, and like I say, the Bale one just keeps popping up, really does. And I'm wondering why. And also, I wouldn't be surprised. This is what I meant to say a few minutes ago. I wouldn't be surprised about Mbappe coming to Manchester United either, because that started with Di Marzio well over a month ago, before the transfer window nonsense started, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And that was 2 sources, both from Di Marzio, who I really do rate when it comes to Manchester United transfer news. And if you think that Mourinho was on holiday in Monaco for a day this weekend, you're very naive. I 100% think that he was in Monaco to sort of deal out, and I'll be very surprised if we're not signing a player from Monaco this summer. Some people would say, well, I hope it's Mbappe. Personally, Mbappe would be nice, but as I said a few weeks ago when Bernardo Silva was still on the table, the one signing that I would take from Monaco that I think, again, isn't Galactico, but would actually help our team better than anything, I think Fabinho, or if he's not going to use Luke Shaw, it's Mendy. Those 2 are the ones I would be going with. Floyd Pinto says, I'd love Mbappe. If we got Mbappe, I'd be very excited, because he's probably the best young talent around in world football at the moment, with Marcus Rashford, and we've already got Marcus Rashford. So, but I'm convinced that Mourinho was in Monaco on the weekend. He didn't even stay for the second day of the Grand Prix, so he was there just to watch the qualifying for one day. And if you're on holiday in Monaco, to be totally honest, you stay more than one day. So I'm convinced he was there to sort of deal out. And as Elizabeth Simon says, I hope it's Fabinho. The obnoxious Otter moves me nicely onto the next thing. He's saying, what about Icardi? Look, I'd love to sign Icardi for Manchester United. Of course I would, an Inter Milan player. The nice thing about Perisic is we haven't bought a player from Inter Milan for a long time. Mourinho has very good connections with Inter Milan. If you remember when we were linked with getting Mourinho as manager last April time, he actually went to watch an Inter Milan game. And Inter Milan, is it the Materazzi family or something like that? I forget the name. The daughter who gets on, or the sister or something, who was involved in running the club, was actually asked about Mourinho coming back to Inter Milan, and she said, no, we'd love to have him back, but he's off to Manchester. And that always gets misreported. Everyone jumps on, I knew Mourinho was coming to Manchester United, but that was one of the first things, and that was from Inter. He's got a good relationship with them. He won the Champions League with them. So there are deals that can be done with Inter Milan, and it's nice to open that gate again, because we haven't done one since Mikel Sylvester, have we? So I'd love Icardi. We do need a number 9. But I started this on Twitter last night as well as a conversation, and I think 1 or 2 people misconstrued it, as per usual. Apparently Manchester United and Mourinho want to offer Zlatan a deal to stay at Manchester United. And what I said is, and I want to get your live comments on this, what I said is, look, I love Zlatan. I defended him when we went for him last summer, and a lot of people were like, too old, he won't do any good. And I said, he'll get over 20 goals because he gets a goal every other game, everywhere he plays. But what I said last night is, look, I love Zlatan, but the experiment's done. He's proved he can do it in the Premier League at 35. Now go off and do something else, because I don't want Zlatan to really stay at Manchester United. £300,000 a week or whatever we were paying him, arguable whether he's worth that. But I want him to go, and I want us to look back on the season and go, Zlatan was really good. What concerns me about Zlatan Ibrahimovic is 2 things. One, if he was going to stay as a bit part striker, keep him, perfect. But we all know he gets to play every single game. And I'll go back to the Bournemouth game back in January, I think it was, and a few other games like that. And Anderlecht in the second leg of the Europa League. Teams coming to Old Trafford and playing a high line virtually on our halfway line and pressing the hell out of us is not a conducive way to being a successful side. And the reason that was happening is because Zlatan was playing up front and they had absolutely no fear at all of the ball over the top. So they played a high line. Bournemouth did it, Anderlecht did it. These are not great sides. Imagine if we do it against a team that's very good at pressing, like Spurs or a Barcelona. We'll get absolutely hammered. So Zlatan would have been very useful. Remember the West Brom game where they just parked the bus? Zlatan would have been brilliant because we were putting crosses in, we had nobody to do anything. But football's different and there's different situations. And when a team comes to Old Trafford and plays a high line, if you're playing Zlatan and he's got no pace, it makes it boring to watch and it makes us very, very toothless. So that's my issue about Zlatan. And I don't think Mourinho really addressed that issue last season. So I've got to be honest, I really like Zlatan, but I'm not a Zlatan hater by any means. Anyone who watches the United stand will know that. I just don't want him to stay. I think it's time to go. And football's, especially Manchester United, football's about that. Look, I'm sad that Rooney's career's coming to an end. It's sad when football careers come to an end who have had a great history with your club. But it's exciting as well. It's evolution. The club remains, players and managers fall by the wayside when they become not good enough. That is the harsh reality of being a fan of Manchester United. And I think Zlatan's time is done. We move on. We get somebody who's quicker, better, and for 300 grand a week we can pretty much get anybody we want. A little report today about Belotti for Torino. Apparently Arsenal are in the race for him. I would Manchester United against Arsenal going for Belotti, and Belotti's sat there in his nice Italian villa with his sunglasses on and a nice little glass of red with his feet up, thinking, what do I want to do? Do I want to go and play Champions League football with the best manager in the world, with the biggest club in the world, or do I want to go and live in London, this is the only positive, and play for a bunch of jelly babies with no spine who will be battling for fifth, who might win a domestic cup and are nothing in Europe? I mean, this is the problem Arsenal have got now. They no longer have that we finish fourth every year, Champions League, get battered in the quarterfinals, draw. They're in trouble. And if Arsenal get Belotti, it's because Manchester United are not in for Belotti. Thanks for the contribution, Moses. He's contributed a couple of dollars through the super chat, and he says CDM Morgan Sanson from Marseille. You never know. You never know, mate. You never know. But what I would just keep reiterating is, look, we're going to be here with you twice a day, 8:30, 7 o'clock. Most of it's going to be talking about transfers, although we obviously will mix in other things. We're very good on it, and we're very good at it because you lot are very good at it. And the one thing that I've always learned from doing this is that there will be signings we're not aware of. Perisic would have been very left field if it hadn't have been for the fact that Mourinho flew over to Croatia in the international break and spoke to an agent that he got photographed with. If that didn't happen, we'd all be like, well, you would, because I know who Perisic is, as a few people do, but most of us would be like, where's this Perisic deal come from? So it's only because of that thing in March that we're sort of aware of this. But I would just say to those people who are doubting Perisic, look, you haven't seen him in a Manchester United shirt. You haven't seen him under Jose Mourinho. I mean, he got 2 assists and a goal last night, but I wouldn't judge him on that either. You can't be a fickle fan who yesterday morning is like, I don't want Perisic, to last night when he scored a goal and got a couple of assists, oh, I want him now, because that's really fickle off one game. I would urge you to go and speak to some Inter Milan fans, look at Perisic's goodbye message on, I think it was Twitter or Instagram, and the replies from Inter Milan fans, the vast majority not wanting him to go. That's your credible source, not me, who's watched him probably 5 or 6 times this season, not YouTube, which will show you the best clips. Go and have a proper research of him, and I'm very excited about the player. He's quick, he's skillful, he's hard working, he's got a good shot on him. And I just think he'll be that sort of grafter who gets it, you know, like your Valencia Herrera. So I'm very, very happy about that. Jamar says, has he been signed? No, he's not been signed yet. But we would expect this deal to be announced this week. It could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, but I would certainly expect it to happen this week. It's either going to be Manchester United, which I would be over 80% sure, or Chelsea are a threat because they are very good at transfers. But I would be pretty nailed on is going to be a Manchester United player, because this deal is not something we've been working on for 2 weeks. This is something that was, you know, the last international break, Mourinho was sorting it out. As I said, my second little tip for you would be, I'll be amazed if we're not signing someone from Monaco. Again, Mourinho flew over to Croatia in the international break and spoke to the agent to sort the deal with Perisic. He's flown over to Monaco for a day at the weekend. He's sorting something out. I would suggest Fabinho, which I'd be happy with. But Mendy or Mbappe, obviously, again, you couldn't really moan about those. I still wouldn't be... Rain Hamsey says, what about James Rodriguez? I still wouldn't be surprised if we get James Rodriguez. Look, Manchester United have got to look about the world and being a global brand, etc. You'd get a lot of money and you get a lot of exposure from James Rodriguez. So I wouldn't count that out yet. Jordan Thompson says, Mark, what other signings do you want? you know what, I need to do a show on this as to what I want, because obviously I'm reporting a lot on what's going on and sort of trying to balance the meltdown about Perisic and massage egos and saying, look, he will be a good signing. But what do I want is probably different. I like Bruma at Galatasaray. I don't know who he's signed for yet, but I think as a young Portuguese winger, he would be perfect. But if we're getting Perisic, we're probably not going to get him. Obviously, I like Manolas at Roma as a centre-back. I don't expect us to get him. I like Icardi at Inter. I don't expect us to get him. Aubameyang, I would like to get him. If Aubameyang comes to the Premier League and it's not Manchester United, I'll be very disappointed, because I think he is the perfect number 9. And if we miss out on those sort of deals because we're going to give Zlatan another year, I think that's a mistake. There's no future in Zlatan. There's just risk. And his lack of pace in the Premier League cost us this season. I love Zlatan, but I'd rather he just went and moved on. I don't know whether people think that's harsh or not, but if you've watched the United stand, you'll know that I'm very passionate about Zlatan. But I think the year is done now. Noom, Hagel, I expect Griezmann to come to Manchester United. The De Gea thing will rumble on. Look, I could probably speak to you for hours. There's so many angles we could go off on. But the De Gea thing is going to be interesting as to who we bring in as a replacement. And yes, okay. We are live tonight at 8:30 with Skype Goldbridge, which is your show. We just go live and you Skype in and you set the tone. It's unscripted, so whatever you want to talk about tonight, get on 8:30. It's your show. If you enjoy the transfer dailies, obviously it's bank holiday in the UK, so it's 11 o'clock today. It'll be back to 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for the rest of the week. Drop us a like if you like it. I think we've covered everything that needs to be covered that's of relevance at the moment. And some people are reporting that Perisic is official, in which case I'll be stopping and going live again. But thanks everybody for watching. Drop us a like.